Hi there. I want to read from one of the essays I did in my newest book called The Spirit's Whisper. This one is called Remaining Present When There Are No Right Words. It's about being a witness to someone else's grief. Witnessing grief is one of the most courageous and difficult things we can do for someone we love. As loss fills their world, they need somebody brave enough to ask all those hard questions. One of the ones I heard was, how does it feel to sit across from that empty chair each night? And then in spite of the fact that it makes you excessively uncomfortable, listen to them and invite them to speak about that truth with you. What makes being a witness to someone else's grief so difficult is that our love urges us to try over and over again to fix that person, that situation. And when it comes to grief, there is no fix. So it's one of those really hard things that as we sit with them, as we listen, everything in us urges us to try to make that better. And I was reading, and I'm not reading now. Now I'm just speaking from the heart, which I prefer anyway. So the hard questions that you have to ask someone who is in the midst of some of the hardest work they're ever going to do as they grieve the loss of somebody they love is to ask those questions. They may not have answers. That's real. That's the reality of grief. Sometimes there's no words. Sometimes it's just flat out pain. And the only thing you can do in those instances is to sit with them. It's an excessively lonely place to be. If it's a spouse, if it's a sibling, if it's a child, there's so many layers and there's so many different aspects to it that to be brave enough to sit with somebody who's in the worst of it is one of the kindest things you can do for another human being. But we can't fix it. We can't fix it. There's no fix for grief. Grief is just a message, a language of just how much we love that person that's gone. You know, they're going to say things like, I just wish they were here at the table with me. They're not. They're not going to be. And that person needs to hear that in a way that may hurt but is loving. It's got to come from the place of love. You have to acknowledge that, you know, if that person that you lost could be here across the table from you right now in the same way they would be here. But they have to get used to a new way of being with you, just like you have to get used to a new way of being with them. That spiritual connection will deepen over time, and it has to be acknowledged early on, but it's also hard to touch early on. We hurt so bad that we block a lot of that connection that is there. So as time goes on, that's one of the things that softens that sting. And as a witness to someone who's going through that, that's a message that you can share with them. But the best thing you can do is sit with them, hold them when they cry, ask them the hard questions, because if you don't, nobody may. You may be the one person who can make all the difference in that person's life. And that's the most courageous, loving, kind thing we can do for another human being, is to ask those hard questions. So today, I wish you love. I wish you empathy. I wish you peace. And I wish you a loving person to sit with you in your own grief. Take care. Until next time.